All right. Good morning, ethics guys. I hope that y'all had a good weekend and ready to kind of get back into a couple things here as we get started this Monday. We left off with some definitions here that you guys noted last time. It's really all we covered in our first lecture. So today we're going to get into some content and some application of some of these things. So follow along with me. Um, Determinism. I've put in your notes here a false statement that genes determine all of your physical and behavioral traits. Genes obviously do a ton, but there is this question we're going to get into in the lecture today about nature versus nurture, and something I'm going to have you do some writing about. It's kind of going to be a bigger writing assignment because I really want you to put some thought into it because I think it's kind of the heart of this chapter. The two things that are really at stake here is the morality of doing some of these things, and then what it would actually do, what it would look like. And so I just put a false as far as genes determining everything. They say a lot, but they help make who you are, but they obviously don't continue to make who you are. I would use my two children as examples. If they had not come into our home when they did, they would probably be different people. Now, the genes they come from genetically give them some of those characteristics, but then a lot of those characteristics come from us as a family as well. And so I want us to think about those differences. Utilitarians would approve of therapy if it would result in greater benefits. They would not approve of cloning to make someone the same. They would also probably be in favor of enhancement, making people better that do not have genetic diseases or disorders. Natural law would be immoral. The Catholic Church would condemn any use of cloning, and they have done so. The Pope has come out and said as much in recent years, for sure. So that's kind of an open and shut case. If you follow Kant, you would be okay with therapy and enhancement, but you would possibly have some difficulty with the cloning part because of how it treats people. So what I would note again, we've done this multiple times now this semester. These theories don't really ever give us answers. They give us possibilities. And so that's why I struggle with all of them as genetic theories because they don't really solve problems. They give you guidelines, but they don't give hard, fast rules about ethical, not ethical. They simply, again, kind of give direction. Um, Here are the arguments for gene therapy. Beneficence, meaning the good of people. If I can give you therapy to help your genes and to change who you are, get rid of some of the negative characteristics, I should. And then autonomy. Hey, it's my life. If I want to alter genes and change this or change that, I can do those. And so self-determination is my right. This comes back to a reproductive liberty argument. You can have kids or not have kids. You can also make decisions about um, how those kids turn out, would be the argument. They would say, okay, if you can pick kids to have children, why can't I pick that they have blue eyes or that they have athletic ability or that they're really intelligent? And so they would say, people that are advocating from this viewpoint, that if you can choose to have kids, then you can choose to do whatever you want to with those kids. The difficulty here is, yes, you can choose to try and have kids, but we as believers know that sometimes God just closes that door even when you're trying. Um, I would be a witness to that. And so just because you can try to have kids doesn't mean you're completely autonomous over that. Human beings don't do that by themselves. There are other forces involved. God can open or close wombs. Scripture says that. And so if we don't have the right to have kids whenever we want to, why would we? That kind of stops that argument dead. It can't really move forward from that point. Plus, autonomy is not self-absolute. We can go too far with our autonomy. Genetic intervention, some of those things. Again, this is a really slippery slope, guys. There's obviously some value in being able to help people who struggle with genetic disorders, then we can give them a better quality of life. But that same argument would also say, well, if my kid is really smart, then he would also have a better quality of life. And so if you open the door to help these, what stops you from closing it, moving forward? And so it becomes difficult. I think there is, and I would agree with this slide, there's a moral significant difference between therapy and enhancement. There just is. There's this idea, I need to change one thing here. There's this idea that it is okay to give someone therapy. It's not okay to enhance some of those genes. And what is meant by that is it's okay to help someone with a disease, but if I do something more than that, then it's tantamount to playing God. So there's a difficulty there. But again, where is that hard, fast line between therapy and enhancement? Because they both improve the life of the patient. And so we're back to that issue of, okay, how do we make a difference here? Some people say there is no difference, and so that kind of solves that particular problem. One more, I want to make this a little larger here while I'm here. One thing, and this is again what I want to spend some time on, and I'm going to have you do some writing on, because I really want you to do some deep thinking about this. Enhancement is unjust because it would give enhanced people an unfair advantage. It would also skew toward people who are wealthy. Folks who can't afford genetic enhancement would just kind of be on a lower rung, and they would never, because they're not now as smart or whatever, they would never be able to ascend to that. Hard work wouldn't mean anything because some people are so far ahead. We're going to start the football game, and Team A is up by 28 points before we ever kick off. Well, Team B pretty much just says, this game's probably over with, and there's really not much they can do. And so there's a difficulty here. But what I want to pay note to is the difference between nature and nurture. Okay, so let's say all of you were born with the exact same DNA that you have right now, yet within the first year of your life, you were moved to an entirely different family, and you were raised by a different family. Okay, and how different the family could be would be entirely up to you. It could be someone who was in Arkansas, someone who was in the other part of the United States, or someone in a foreign country. You have the DNA that you still have, but you're raised differently. How much of a different person would you be right now? What is the difference between nature and nurture? Are you just set to be who your DNA says you are? Or are the people and things and events that happen to you, do they really make who you are? Or is it exactly half and half? Or is it one more than the other? What is this relationship between nature and nurture? I think that is a significant thing, and again, we're gonna come back to that. Okay. Some of these things in your notes I've already mentioned. You might not hang on to these notes, by the way, because some of these things may pop up on a test, open book, open note test here at some point. We talked about some of this. Stem cell research. This falls under the line of stem cell research. You'll note here in the bottom right-hand corner of this slide, they have been able to grow human tissue as long as they have a donor. They've grown people new ears on the backs of mice and other small rodents. That's a real thing that has really happened. Since 2001 in the United Kingdom, Great Britain, they have started really ramping up this sort of research, and the capabilities they've come up with are actually quite astonishing, some of the stuff they can do. Here's the for and against. Stem cell research, genetic engineering, and cloning offer cures for currently incurable diseases. That's obviously a good thing. If they could come tomorrow and say, hey, we can cure Crohn's disease because it is a genetic disorder to some degree, and they figure that out, boy, that'd be great. It's available in some countries, and so is only available to the rich who can travel. Everybody's not doing this. You have to go to certain places. We've grown healthy cells. Medical science is good. We ought to loosen the law a little bit so we can, do some more research. That's the for people. The against people say, well, we're basically treating the human body as a commodity. And again, once we open that door, this is a significant area of this slide here. Once we open that door, we can't close it, and we have no idea what the long-term consequences of this is. And if you start allowing this to happen, well, you're talking about shopping for people now, because all of a sudden people could say, well, I want a baby that has this characteristic. And if you're rich enough to do that, then you could basically go and pick which characteristics you wanted. And so all of a sudden people become products, not individuals, and they get treated as such. And so there is a dangerous precedent here for this sort of thing. Okay. We're going to come back on Wednesday and talk about this specific slide and some of these things in the biblical view of this. Here's what I want you to write today. I really want you to have a little fun with this. I promise this is not busy work. I'm interested in your opinions. Do the scenario that I gave you a few minutes ago, okay? And this is due by the end of the day today. Let's go midnight, jump on and get this done. What is the difference between nature and nurture? Again, if you were born with your same DNA, but raised in a different home, how much different do you believe you would be as an individual? Okay. And give me some scenarios where that would change. If I was same DNA, but I lived somewhere else in Arkansas, I'd be about the same. But if I lived in Canada, or if I lived in Brazil, or if I grew up in Europe, I would be this, this, and this. Explore that a little bit and just write me kind of a page of what you think that looks like and how you think that affects people. The nature versus nurture argument. Be a place on Google Classroom to turn that in. Hope you guys are doing well. I miss our talks. I miss the arguments we had in ethics. I'm really sad that we're not going to get to have more of those than we did. But maybe we can get a Zoom together sometime and have at least one more before we all get done with this particular class. Love you guys. Get this written and turned in by the end of today, Monday, the 20th of April, I believe. Yeah, it's 2020. Lots of 20s today. Bye. Stop screen share.